As we all know, Amberlynn went live last night for her scheduled members live. It was the usual thing, some tears, some whining, some eating. But the more interesting live stream happened today, and that was Beck and Destiny's. I wasn't actually planning to talk that in depth about any of this, so I don't really have any video footage prepared, and I don't really want to use screenshots from Amber's live because we all know how that goes. So I guess just consider this background noise. Just listen to the rambling. I promise it will make sense. It all hangs together psychologically in some crazy way. If I were a believer in karma, my little black soul would be laughing its head off at all of this. Decades of dreadful behaviour, and now it's all coming back together. She spent ages playing the victim, avoiding responsibility and stirring up chaos just because she can. And now it seems like the universe is finally synchronising with the mess that she's created. And she's not enjoying it, but I'm pretty sure we're revelling in every moment. Because when you've spent as long as she has dodging consequences, it's only a matter of time before they come crashing down. And this is one crash that none of us were gonna miss. I didn't really want to talk much about their livestream here because they deserve all the views, and if you want to hear what they have to say, go there. But what I am going to talk about is some of the things we've learned about Amberlynn from their livestream and how it ties into what we already know about her and how it paints a bigger picture of what's really going on with her. Beck and Destiny have a lot of interesting things to say about Amber, and it builds a much more comprehensive picture of what an absolute monster she is. So that's what I want to talk about. I don't imagine Amber's going to take this well. The response is going to be all petulance and projection. She'll return to Instagram with the energy of a soaked cat, scratching and screeching and swiping at shadows. They're obsessed with me, she'll say, as if she hasn't name-dropped them in every third video for a month. And while we didn't really learn many new things about Amberlynn while they were talking, we did reach critical mass on the sheer density of the narcissism and bitterness. It was just proof that Amberlynn is the queen of codependency and passive-aggressive manipulation. She's less misunderstood empath and more emotional barnacle. All the texts that we were shown aren't merely incriminating, they're a psychological autopsy. And the cause of death is desperation, delusion, and deeply unsettling habits. Just picture it briefly, the visual of Amber commanding Destiny or Beck to pick her hair like chimpanzees at the zoo. That's not something I ever really expected to say aloud, yet here we are. The infantilization, the performative helplessness, the audacity. It's like she thinks intimacy can be bartered for pity and a head scratch. And then even once the relationship had ended, Amber demanded the time together, required attention, guilt-tripped Destiny into playing house like the breakup was just a polite suggestion. It's manipulation in its purest form. If you don't give me what I want, you're a bad person. Textbook narcissistic supply strategy, thinly veiled and poorly executed. The best part, though, was Destiny showing that she just wasn't having it. Destiny isn't a saint, but she wasn't crawling back into the swamp to drag out the same old storyline under the guise of caring. She stood firm, and she exposed it, and now she's showing the receipts. And I'm pretty sure Amber's defense will be the usual carousel of contradictions. That's not what happened, followed by, if it did happen, it's because I was traumatized, followed by, they're just jealous. No, Amber, they're done. What we're witnessing is the slow, delicious collapse of the Amberverse, finally punctured by Destiny, who she couldn't rewrite. Destiny knows the unfiltered, mascara-streaked, manipulation-saturated truth, and she's not protecting it anymore. Amber's mask is slipping, the chimp has left the enclosure. They even bring up her Walmart waddle incident, the modern tragedy. Amber, a woman scorned, abandoned in the fluorescent aisles of her spiritual kingdom, having to embark on the slow, lumbering odyssey back to her lair. Amber, as always, was expecting the universe to bend around her little tantrum, that Destiny would chase her, placate her, validate her, drive her back. But Destiny went home and took a shower. That's iconic. The thought of Amberlynn stomping home alone, rage-breathing and replaying the argument in her head, probably narrating it aloud like some deranged Shakespeare villain, it brings me peace. Good, let her stew. Let her marinate in her own manipulations. Hearing this story makes me a little bit sad, because she was like this with Destiny, and then we know that she's about to go head first into that horrible relationship with Beck. Destiny had the talent of indifference, years of exposure hardened her. But Beck ended up living with the puppet master. Every moment was a performance, every sigh was a cue. I can only imagine that trapped feeling, that unbearable slow burn suffocation of trying to pacify someone who never wanted to be pacified. Amber never wanted peace, she wanted control, and Beck had to tiptoe through that minefield every day. But Beck doing this is fantastic. It's not just peace, it's trauma management, and it's what Amber deserves. But even now, there's something in Beck's voice that's just so sad, and that's the legacy of living in Amber's orbit. It brands you, quietly and permanently. We all know that she's going to begin her revisionist history tour. That never happened, she'll say, or that's out of context. But no, we have the context. It's years of emotional manipulation, bizarre rituals and codependent chaos. And the audience is finally not buying the rewrites. Beck is exposing her, destiny was ignoring her. The narrative slipping through her sausage fingers and she's panicking. They confirm that she'd spend most of her time on forums and groups about her, making herself upset. Of course she did. She's the high priestess of performative victimhood, the digital narcissus forever gazing into the poisoned pond of her own reflection, obsessed with her haters. It's not just curiosity, and it's not passive observation. It's compulsion. She needs it. The disdain is her drug, and she mainlines it daily. We all knew she was spending hours, days even, lurking on forums, groups, Reddit threads, anywhere her name was being dissected like a bloated frog in a biology class. She would absorb every insult, every snide remark, every analysis of every spiral, and then self-destruct accordingly. Not with change, not with growth, but with performative martyrdom, junk food binges, and crocodile tears on camera. This woman is not an unaware victim of online cruelty. She's a participant. She seeks out the negativity and marinates in it. She weaponizes it to justify stagnation, manipulation, and the need for control. They hate me, she sobs while scrolling through another thread at 3 AM spoon deep in ice cream and validation seeking. It's pitiful and grotesque. This level of self-sabotage is not unfortunate. It's calculated. She reads every word, commits it to memory, and manufactures a narrative where she's the wounded lamb surrounded by wolves. But the truth is, she feeds the wolves. She cultivates them, and then cries when they bite. Destiny confirmed it. Beck confirmed it. We have the puzzle and all the pieces are in place. We all know she spent years choosing to be harmed by words instead of helped by truth. That's not victimhood. It's vanity masquerading as suffering. But now the illusion's cracking. The forums she obsessed over are vindicated by the people she's tried to erase from her story. Destiny is speaking, Beck is speaking, and Amber's just left flailing, whispering into a void that no longer wants her. We then get a little bit of information about a time she was trying to get with a married person. The shamelessness of it all. Amberlynn Reed forever orbiting decency like it's a distant planet she once read about but never visited. So we can now add attempted homewrecker to her already bloated resume of moral decay. Trying to pursue married individuals? Plural, because apparently boundaries of peasants and emotional respect is optional if she's feeling lonely. This isn't romantic, it's just predatory. It's the desperate flailing of someone who can't survive without validation, even if it means planting herself like a fungus in someone else's relationship. She also had the gall to clutch her non-existent pearls and go on about why Casey wasn't speaking to them anymore. Amberlynn did not simply say things about Casey. She outright slandered him. It was all a desperate, sickening bid to discredit someone before he could speak his truth. It was calculated character assassination that she hoped would just bring herself more sympathy points, and she hoped she could get away with it. She almost destroyed someone's life and credibility. But here she's asking why they don't want to rekindle communication. Because he escaped. He found freedom and he owes her nothing. This is entitlement in its most noxious form. She sees people not as real autonomous beings but as props in her tragic theatre. Once they exit stage left, she demands an encore, assuming they'll return for her convenience. The messages they're showing us seem like Amber's classic narcissism on the surface. But some of them transcend narcissistic injury. They're absolutely unhinged. They reek of desperation and delusion, served cold with a side of moral rot. What we're getting to see now, the texts, the obsession, the revisionist theatrics, It goes beyond control, and it's veering into clinical detachment from reality. These aren't just the words of someone who wants to be liked. These are the words of someone who thinks the world should obey her, who thinks people owe her continued access to their lives because she wants it. An ex sets a boundary, she responds with emotional terrorism. They move on, she spirals. She's not just playing the victim, she's playing God, and she's throwing a tantrum when no one bows. The tone of the messages is crazy. She shifts from sugar sweet to vicious in seconds. Love bombing, then shaming. I miss you, I need you, why are you doing this to me, you're heartless. It's whiplash inducing. It's unstable. And it's not just unhealthy, it's dangerous. There's a particular flavour of madness to the way she claws at people's lives long after they've left her. She doesn't want closure, she wants compliance. She wants to be the sun that they orbit forever, even if it means becoming the storm that ruins their peace. And when it fails, she cries abuse with the casual cruelty of someone who knows the word carries weight, and so she wields it like a club. The psychosis of it all lies in the complete lack of perspective. She'll say things like, I was the best thing in their life, while harassing them with burner accounts. She'll sob that she's misunderstood while sabotaging every relationship that dares not to revolve around her. There's no shame, no remorse, no comprehension. It's just a ravenous need to remain central, even as the world moves on without her. She doesn't want healing, she wants attention. She doesn't want truth, she wants control of the narrative. And when the control slips, she unravels publicly and violently. Narcissism is probably the diagnosis. Not saying it is, I'm just saying probably. But what we're seeing here is something darker and something dangerous. The missed calls, the relentless messages. Why aren't you picking up? Don't ignore me. Where are you? It's not love, and it's not even heartbreak. This is possession throwing a tantrum because it realised the cage door has been left open. Why aren't you picking up? Because they don't want to. Don't ignore me. They probably should. Where are you? Far, far away, but never far enough. The barrage of missed calls and suffocating messages reads like the diary of a stalker. It's not communication, it's a siege. It's a psychological chokehold masquerading as concern, and it just reeks of entitlement, of someone who can't comprehend that others are allowed to not want her anymore. The need for instant access, for constant response, it's not affection, it's obsession. It's the panicked shrieking of someone who can't exist outside the spotlight of another person's attention. She's not asking, she's demanding. She's not checking in, she's patrolling. And when silence is the answer, she escalates. Because silence to Amber isn't peace, it's defiance. To be precise, this is harassment. It's coercive behaviour. The relentless pings of neediness, the manipulative guilt baked into every don't ignore me. It's not just emotionally abusive, it's predatory. She's not grieving a relationship, she's punishing someone for escaping. And what's even more insidious is that she sees herself as entitled to their attention, as if a breakup is just a pause in service and not the termination of contract. That alone shows everything we need to know. She never loved these people, she owned them. And now that they've reclaimed themselves, she's scrambling to force them back into the narrative she curated. The damsel wronged, the cold ex, the tears, the voice memos, it's all smoke and mirrors. But the calls go unanswered, and the messages pile up, and the silence wins. Because control only works when the target still fears you. And Destiny, Beck, they fear nothing now, least of all her tantrums. Amberlynn Reid isn't the protagonist of her story, she's the cautionary tale. She's a ghost with a phone plan screaming into the void as everyone else just moves on. At the rotten, curdled core of her empire of self-pity and idolatry victimhood lies one immutable truth. She doesn't care for anything that she cannot use. Even her animals aren't her family. She parades them for views, names them like accessories, and treats them like props. They're content. When they were small and photogenic, we saw them. Now they're aging and becoming inconvenient, they're just discarded. They're forgotten like half a tub of macaroni in the back of the fridge, noticed only when someone else brings up the smell. Neglect isn't just a difference in standards, it's cruelty. Animals left alone for hours, days, dirty litter boxes, overfilled food bowls. She literally left one behind in another state. It's not love, it's not trying her best. It's unforgivable. She left that cat behind in another state like it was an expired subscription, not a living creature that trusted her. She just moved on. The cat didn't have the option. The cat was stranded, confused, and abandoned like the emotional debris she always leaves in her wake. There's a particular evil in neglecting something helpless. An animal can't call out her lies. It can't post receipts. It can't expose her on a live stream. The animals suffer in silence while she weaponizes her own tears and dares to act like she's the one in pain. She still mentions them, still posts about them when she thinks she should, but it's all an image she's just desperately trying to sell. But the truth has been documented in silence, stains, and suffering. Her pets aren't her family, they're just set dressing to her. And when they don't serve her purposes anymore, or they can get her something, like a longer stay, she abandons them. She walks away without looking back. She's shown us who she is, and now her trail of abandoned animals joins the long, grim list of people, relationships, and responsibilities she's just sacrificed on the altar of her own ego. She isn't just selfish, she's monstrous. The woman can't even give a gift without chaining it to a receipt signed in emotional ink and stamped with manipulation and filed under "You owe me for eternity." Every so-called kindness she performs, whether it's a bill covered or a meal bought, it's not an act of generosity. It's a contract, unspoken but viciously enforced. And when that contract is broken, when someone dares to set a boundary, express autonomy, or heaven forbid walk away, she snaps. And out comes the laundry list. But I did this for you, I was there for you, I gave you everything. No, you gave nothing. You invested in control. You loaned affection with interest. And when people refuse to stay tethered to that emotional invoice, you call it betrayal. That's not kindness, it's emotional extortion. She weaponizes her own good deeds like a debt collector in glittery eyeshadow. You can see it in the way she tells stories, always positioning herself as the overgiving saint while painting others as ungrateful, cold, and manipulative. It's projection so transparent it should be sold in pains. And this is why her relationships decay. Not just the romantic ones, all of them. Because she cannot give, she can only trade. And when someone refuses the terms, she retroactively rewrites the entire relationship as a tale of personal sacrifice. You lived in my apartment, remember? I helped you when you had nothing. I bought that, I paid for that. It's as if she's running a tally for emotional servitude. As if compassion's a subscription and they've defaulted on the payment. It's just grotesque. True kindness dies under this kind of weight. Because no one can feel safe accepting help when they know it's going to be used against them later. Her love is just a leash, her generosity's a trap, and every time someone untangles themselves from her grasp, she cries betrayal and scrambles to show receipts as if proof of payment equals moral superiority. And it doesn't. She doesn't want to help anyone, she wants to own them. And that's why she's alone, not because people use her, not because she's too kind for this world, but because she turns every act of care into a life sentence and then sobs when the victims escape. Human decency's just a transaction to her, and a crumpled $20 bill is a lifetime contract for servitude, apparently. She gave Destiny $20 for her birthday once and said, "I'm not that bad, Destiny, see? Now shut up and drive me to Walmart like the loyal, emotional chauffeur you are." The gall of it all. This is how she justifies her behaviour. This is how she absolves herself. It's not through reflection, not accountability, but just petty ledger keeping. She believes that one performative act of kindness negates months or years of entitlement and emotional suffocation. She doesn't give gifts, she gives leverage. That $20 wasn't a birthday present, it was a receipt for future exploitation. "Look," she says, "I'm a good person, I paid for a meal once. I bought you a Funko Pop, therefore I am entitled to your time, your car, your silence, and your life." It's a grotesque distortion of generosity. It's just a twisted bartering system where the only acceptable currency is control. And Destiny was just meant to be grateful, meant to nod, to smile and ignore the screaming boundaries in her mind and perform obedience because Amber cracked open her wallet one time like she was giving up a piece of her soul. But again, let's be clear, Amber uses generosity as blackmail. She gives to own, not to uplift. And when the partners eventually recoil from the weight of the control, She doesn't look inside herself, she doesn't adjust. She just opens the ledger and reads it aloud like a prosecutor at a trial no one asked for. I gave you $20, and then demanded mileage, compliance, emotional labour and silence. That's not giving, that's grooming with gift wrap. Destiny was right to walk away. And the fact that Amber still believes that $20 negates her toxicity tells you everything. She has no concept of healthy love, only transactions in her favour. We see it in their livestream. Amberlynn Reed, the ex from hell, continued to treat Destiny like a personal Uber driver and emotional hostage after the relationship ended. The entitlement's so loud it echoes. The relationship ended, and yet Amber behaved as if Destiny's life still remained on her standby? Why? Because Amber wasn't finished using her yet. She demands rides, she demands attention, she demands service. It's not even desperation, it's expectation. As if breaking up didn't even break anything. As if Destiny still belonged to her in some warped post-relationship purgatory where Amber gets all the benefits and none of the responsibility. By this point, Destiny had already moved on, found someone new, was trying to start over. And Amber's just still there pouting in the passenger seat with a Walmart haul and an attitude, clinging to her like a barnacle with boundary issues. It's deranged. Amber doesn't recognise boundaries. Not emotionally, not physically, not logistically. X means nothing to her. No just means not yet. If Destiny still answers the phone, if she gets her way once, that's all she needs to justify the continued manipulation. She banks on the guilt, on the history. She doesn't care that Destiny was done. She only cared that she wasn't. And it's psychological trespassing, plain and simple. But in honesty, Destiny did enable it for a while. Because when you've been submerged in that kind of control, escape isn't an event, it's a process. You don't realise how deep the roots go until you try and pull them out. And Amber, to her credit, is a master gardener of codependency. She knows when to cry, when to guilt, when to dangle the old friendship like a leash disguised as a ribbon. But Destiny broke free, and the second she did, Amber's mask slipped fast. No more niceties, just venom, just victimhood, and endless screenshots and sob stories to whatever audience would listen. But it's too late now. We all see it, Destiny sees it, and the world understands what Amberlynn really is when she can't control you. She's a tantrum in human form. She's a ghost that won't go away. She's the ex who still thinks you owe her a ride to Target. It's laughable, it's repulsive, but it's her. And then the chef's kiss moment is perfection. It should be etched in marble. Destiny saying, "You're 26, act like it." It's a surgical strike of reality delivered with the weary precision of someone who's seen things. Destiny was hardened by years in the Amber trenches, and she finally snapped and lobbed this verbal grenade at the emotional black hole that is Amberlynn Reed. And what a delicious moment it is, because at 26, Amber wasn't a functioning adult. She was functioning as a toddler with a debit card. Her world was built on entitlement, pouting, manipulation, and obsession. She treated every inconvenience like a tragedy, every boundary like a betrayal, and every partner like an overworked carer on the verge of resignation. Destiny telling her to act her age wasn't just a comment, it's an intervention. The gloves came off, the sugarcoating disintegrated, and for one brief, glittering moment, someone was telling Amber the truth. Because by that point, Destiny was done, emotionally cauterized, past the point of tears, no more babying, no more ego stroking. Just a clear, unvarnished statement. Grow up, you are not owed this, you are not 12, you are not special. And we all know Amber hated that, because she thrives in a world where no one calls her out, where every meltdown is framed as mental health, every cruel manipulation is trauma response, and every tantrum is just being real. But this was someone who knew her, who saw behind the curtain and was refusing to play along anymore. It's historic, it's priceless. Amberlynn Reed spent years crafting a reality where she was the perpetual victim, and Destiny shattered it with the tone of a woman who's lived it. You're 26, act like it. They talk for a while about how she reacts when plans change or get delayed, and it's crazy. The sheer emotional catastrophe that ensues when plans change is nothing short of Shakespearean. A shift in time, a cancellation, heaven forbid a delay, and suddenly her entire life is in shambles. Cue the pouting, the passive-aggressive sighs, the emotionally manipulative silence followed by, "No, it's fine, I just thought we had plans, but it's okay, I guess." She treats any deviation from her expectations as a personal attack. Not a change, not a conflict, not life happening. An offence. Because to Amberlynn Reed, other people existing independently of her needs is an act of betrayal. You had to reschedule? So selfish. You had a better offer? So disrespectful. You changed your mind? You've wounded me. She doesn't process change. She punishes people for it. And it's not because she's disorganized. It's because her plans are not plans. They're control mechanisms. They're her way of securing your time, your energy, and your presence. When you change the plan, you're not just inconveniencing her. You're escaping her grip, and that cannot be tolerated. And this is why she spirals. This is why we've seen her weep on camera over the most mundane, everyday things. A friend needing to reschedule lunch, a partner deciding to stay home, an appointment moved by half an hour. Any small disruption and she collapses into the wounded martyr act, acting as if the universe has wronged her. Because for Amber, everything is about Amber. There's no room in her worldview for other people's schedules, needs, or emergencies. The plan was made, therefore it must be honoured, or you're an untrustworthy, unreliable villain in the grand narrative of suffering. And it's exhausting, it's manipulative, and it's childish. Adults adjust. Amber sulks. Adults reschedule. Amber retaliates. Adults say, no worries, we'll try another day. Amber says, I guess I'm just not the priority. No, you're not, Amber. Not in other people's lives, not anymore. And the fact that you interpret basic flexibility as rejection tells us everything we need to know about how deeply your need for control goes, and how fragile your house of cards really is. They mention how Amber could bring out the worst sides of even the nicest, calmest people. She's just an emotional arsonist in a cardigan. The talent she possesses, the gift if we're being ironic, is her uncanny ability to ignite rage in even the gentlest of souls. She brings out the worst in people because she cultivates it. She pushes, she pokes, she rewrites reality in real time and dares you to correct her. She plays the victim while twisting the knife behind the scenes. And when someone finally snaps, raises a voice, throws their hands up, loses their temper, she sits back, eyes wide, and says, wow, look what you just did. I don't deserve this. And she thrives on that moment. Because now she has proof. Now she gets to clip that outburst and upload it to the narrative she's been building. Amber, the empath. Amber, the battered soul who can't catch a break. She'll never show the hours of goading before it, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the relentless provocation. She'll only show the end, the snap, the part where someone finally reacts like a human being under siege. All of her partners at one point or another were driven to the edge, because Amber builds cages, and when people try to breathe, she calls it an attack. She exploits empathy, she weaponizes patience, she uses someone's natural kindness as emotional scaffolding, climbing it just high enough to knock the whole thing down and claim she was pushed. She doesn't just bring out the worst in people, she feeds it. Because if you're angry, then you're flawed, and if you're flawed, then she's the victim again. And being the victim is her oxygen. We've all seen it, the way she tiptoes around accountability but stomps on other people's boundaries. The way she twists words, injects doubt, and pushes until even the most composed person is forced to defend themselves. And then she sits back and basks in the chaos that she created. She's not misunderstood. She's not unlucky in love. She's a master manipulator who builds emotional pressure cookers and pretends to be surprised when the lid finally blows. The calmest waters turn deadly in her orbit. She acts insulted when people have family plans or more important commitments, like a birth in the family. Because in Amber's mind, nothing, and I mean nothing, outranks her importance. Not a birthday, not a family emergency, not a job, not a new life entering the world. You're welcoming a nephew to the world? Well, that's too bad. Amber wants sushi. Pack the hospital bag later. It's delusion on a mythic scale. This is a woman who acts personally insulted, wounded when someone she's leeching off dares to have a life outside of her gravitational pull. You have a family event? A crisis? A joyful moment with someone that isn't her? To Amber, that's not just life happening. It's rejection and betrayal. How dare someone prioritize real-life milestones over needing a ride to Walmart? She interprets normal adult boundaries and commitments as acts of hostility. You can say, not today, someone's in labour, and she hears, you are not important. She can't distinguish between being momentarily unavailable and being unloved. It's toddler logic in a grown woman's body. And when this happens, she doesn't just pout in private. She'll use it against you and broadcast it. She'll vlog it with that signature pout, voice trembling, talking about how people just don't care about her. All because someone dared to attend a funeral or helped someone move house instead of being her assistant for the day. It's exhausting. It's performative martyrdom at its most deranged. And the worst part is that she still frames herself as understanding in the most backhanded way possible. She'll say something like, "Yeah, I guess they were in the hospital, that's important, but I was really counting on them." The manipulation is surgical. She plants guilt like landmines and smiles when someone gets blown up. Amberlynn doesn't believe in compromise. She believes in compliance. Your family, your goals, your life events, they're nothing more than obstacles in her quest for constant, undivided attention. And when you don't drop everything for her, she doesn't adjust, she doesn't empathize. She just stores it away as another perceived betrayal in her vault of imaginary injustices. Because in her world, the only baby that really matters is her. I've seen some people say that Beck and Destiny doing their live stream is a bit pointless and they're spilling tea for the sake of drama and they're just making themselves look bad. But it's Amberlynn that built this arena. She sold the tickets to it. She monetized the suffering of others while casting herself as the protagonist in a story written in manipulation and microwaved grief. She didn't hesitate to air her partner's struggles on camera without consent. She didn't flinch when saying awful things about people for views. She had no issues dragging someone's name through the mud the moment they left her orbit. So this isn't just tea spilling and drama. This is correction. This is the scales tipping back. And anyone clutching their pearls over Amber's privacy and dignity might want to ask why Amber never gave that to anyone else. What we're witnessing is the natural consequence of unchecked cruelty. She spent years treating these people like emotional ATMs. She withdrew support, attention, and devotion, and she overdrafted every relationship and acted shocked when the accounts closed. This isn't Beck and Destiny being vindictive. This is necessary. Without truth, she continues to weaponize her platform. She continues to gaslight thousands. And worst of all, she continues to hurt people behind the scenes because she knows she can cry her way out of consequence. But not anymore. These messages, these stories, they might be petty, but they're also liberation. Beck and Destiny are survivors reclaiming a narrative that Amberlynn tried to silence. And if that feels harsh, good. It should sting. It should remind people that bad treatment should never go unspoken, never go unchallenged, and never go unpunished. Amber's mask is off. The tea has been spilled, and every drop has been earned. So what did we actually learn from their livestream? We learned that behind the baby voice, the hauls, and the trauma dumps, and the mukbangs, and the self-pity, there's a calculated manipulator. A woman who doesn't stumble into conflict but engineers it, curates it, and capitalizes on it. We got proof that she's not just problematic, she's predatory. She siphons emotional labour from partners, guilt trips them into submission, and paints them as villains when they crawl away, bruised and silent. We've learned that she hoards control like gold and treats boundaries like betrayal. We learn she interprets basic adult responsibilities like work and family as personal attacks on her entitlement. She doesn't share attention, she doesn't accept rejection. She doesn't honour privacy, she just exploits, edits and rewrites. We saw again that her animals are just props and that her kindness is transactional. We learn that she monitors the internet like a wounded narcissist looking for someone else to blame and then cries bully when the mirror finally reflects back her own face. We learn that every gift she's ever given came with a chain. $20 is a trap. A meal is a contract. The roof over your head is a collar. We learn that she deliberately left in controversial clips of her partners, knowing full well it would stir drama, and drama always pays better than dignity. We learn that she brought the worst out of the best people. People who were calm, kind, and generous were pushed to points of emotional breaking, while Amber sat back and filmed it for content. And the most damning of all, we learn that she knows exactly what she's doing. It's not confusion, it's strategy. This is a woman who would rather be hated and watched than forgotten and held accountable. This is a woman who believes being disliked is still being centered. And that's all she ever wanted. So what have we learned? Maybe nothing new. But now we're seeing behind the curtain. And we're not gonna unsee it, no matter what she tries to do in her next live stream.